Всем привет! Доброго всем вечера. Мы снова встретились в Фонтейне и будем проходить дальше основной квест. Итак, дождитесь сюда с 8 до 10 следующего дня. Так, у меня есть мысли, давай действовать шаг за шагом.
Good plan. Impossible things don't just happen. We'll get to the truth one way or another.
Just relax. Even if everyone else suspects Lenny and Lynette, at least we will be supporting them from the stands. Besides, I doubt Farina understands any more about what happened than we do.
Thanks, Navia. Well, we'll be going then.
Best of luck to you.
Finally, you're back. Well, how did your investigation go?
To be honest, you might be disappointed.
No. We're already very grateful that you were willing to help.
Well now, don't you all look disappointed. Don't tell me that your investigation came up empty-handed. That was to be expected, of course. The guilty can never produce proof of their innocence. But don't let that stop you. I shall be terribly disappointed should you, my most anticipated foe, concede so easily.
Да уж, подожди еще немного.
Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic show incident is now in session. Firstly, in order for the audience to understand the causes and results of the incident, could we please have Mr. Linney explain the trick?
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage. All the necessary items have been prepared.
Грустно, что на этом, в общем-то, карьера Лини может вообще как бы... Да, привет. Надеюсь, он, конечно, не закончится на этом, но вообще, конечно, когда иллюзионист раскрывает свои фокусы, это грустно. Но, увы. А публика изумлена. Теперь
Thank
они...
you, Mr. Linney. In that case, I take your statement to be that...
Теперь они уже не смогут, наверное, использовать подобный трюк.
You ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick began, and thus could not have committed the crime. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution. Lady Farina, do you wish to refute his statement in any way?
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Linney is clearly lying. There is no way you could have been in the box the whole time if you were to abduct Halsey and murder Cowell. In fact, I'd say you were hardly in that tunnel at all.
That is simply your hypothesis based on the presumption that I'm guilty.
Oh, is that so? And if I may ask, what did you hear while you were inside your box?
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built anticipation for the finale.
And you didn't hear anything else at all? Nothing that might leave an impression of any kind?
No, nothing.
I see. But when the count reached 30 seconds or so, there was a thud. One so loud that I believe practically everyone heard it.
Huh?
Hey, hang on. Something's not right here.
Как Лини мог его не слышать?
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a noise that loud from inside the box.
I was right by the box, and I definitely heard the thud.
Подозрительно. Ого, там у них такие весы.
Could those mean...
Наверное, они выражают позицию оратрис.
Well then, Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to use the words of the magician himself. You never know what can happen in the blink of an eye. Of course, I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundations are rock solid. Tell me, aren't you and Lynette actually from the House of the Hearth?
The House of the Hearth?
Что? Фатуи? Что за дом очага?
No wonder they did something like this.
So the serial disappearances were the Fatui's doing. Now it all makes sense.
I've got a feeling that what happened on stage probably wasn't just an accident.
That's irrelevant. Our identities have nothing to do with what happened.
Indeed. Then perhaps you could tell us everything that happened during that 1 minute. Your first priority is to prove yourself innocent after all. I'm sure there is little that needs to be kept secret now. Unless your script already has holes in it. The Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted? Now comes the infighting and discord, I suppose. This was almost too easy. Good thing I made all those preparations. Seems the all-nighter I pulled last night is really paying off.
Hey, Linny, why didn't you tell us this before?
Что за странный смайлик такой? Ты тоже в шоке от сюжетного поворота? Архонт раздражает. Да, я как-то вот не могу понять ее вот такое отношение к этому. С одной стороны, она так веселится, блин, а чё-то веселого. В общем, не могу понять пока ее логику. Так, начисление и Линет Фатуи.
Order! Order! Mr. Linney, allow me to re-establish the facts. Lady Farina has raised 2 points. First, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Second, you and Ms. Lynette are both members of the House of the Hearth. Are these claims true?
Иллюзионист и мастера обмана, в этом нет никаких сомнений. Ли не скрывал, кто он такой на самом деле. Все случившееся могло быть частью его плана. К тому же Чайлд вместе с другими выходцами из дома очага сейчас в Фонтейне не похоже на совпадение. Я уже достаточно терпелся от Фатуи на этот раз.
Please answer my question, Mr. Linney.
I'm sorry. Yes, they're true, Your Honor.
I knew it!
Well, that's it. We might as well move on to the sentencing already.
What should we do now?
Так, просим слова.
Granted.
Мой подзащитный скрыл от суда важную
In
информацию.
that case, what is your request?
Я прошу сделать перерыв в заседании, нам с подзащитным нужно поговорить.
Is that really necessary? They're already as good as guilty.
The defendant deceived their own attorneys. What is there left to discuss?
Order! Order, Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn. This trial will reconvene in 1 hour.
У нее необычный цвет глаз, интересно.
So you would stick to Mr. Linney's defense even after knowing what you do now? You certainly have more professionalism than I thought. In that case, my dear audience, let's allow the joy of victory to steep for a little while longer.
Меня смущает очень сильно, что она это воспринимает как личную победу. То есть не правосудие, не там, наказать, найти злодея, а ее личная победа. Странно. Да уж. Так, разговариваем с нашими подзащитными. Подсудимыми, простите.
Well, this is awkward. I didn't think the Hydro Archon would dig all that up. I'm sorry. Traveler and Paimon.
Yeah, sorry.
Ugh. Paimon doesn't know where to start. We trusted you two. We based our entire reasoning on the assumption that you weren't bad guys. Not to set the wrong tone or anything, but Paimon's really mad.
Как я понимаю, Паймон.
I'm very sorry. I know you're angry, and reasonably so, but please, let me explain. I know you've clashed with the Fatui several times before. I wouldn't be surprised if just hearing the word is enough to make you upset. But our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have very different personalities and goals.
О, нам сейчас будут прогонять предобрых фатуев.
Right now, we want to save people. As many as we can.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that its people might face. I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends. That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you, but chose to hide some details instead. The truth is very important, but being completely transparent about everything would see us spending more effort than we need to.
Как-то странно. Ну ладно. Меня больше волнует даже не то, что не фату, а то, что они... То есть то, что Линия был не в ящике, как говорил. Они почему-то делают акцент на этом. Ну ладно, посмотрим, что будет дальше.
Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, if I were you, I fear that I'd even struggle to trust me at this point. You met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster by trade. All by coincidence, too. But still, I'm asking you to trust me. I am no criminal. At least, not in this case.
То есть в каких-то других преступлениях все-таки он виноват.
Sorry. Please forgive us.
Well, you both say that, but...
Да, где-то было время обратного отсчета.
Right. Let's hear your answer first, and no lies now.
Of course. I'll answer any question you ask. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a consciousness. Why can it deliver sentences accurately? During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick with the objective of getting close to the core.
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to the opposite box. So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to investigate the room in which the core is stored.
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel specifically to execute this step.
И что ты обнаружил?
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was about to investigate, I heard someone's voice. Which should have been impossible, of course. I was quite certain that I was the only one in the room. That voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on the side of caution and retreated the way I came. On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground, but the countdown was almost finished, so there wasn't time to give it any thought. After that, the homicide occurred just as you saw.
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Зачем же вам понадобилось узнавать, как работает Оратрис?
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that prophesized crisis.
А почему Фатуев это волнует?
That's the only way we can save everyone.
So, there you have it. The whole truth. I swear, I didn't hide anything from you this time.
Забавно, у него такой узор на шапке, на цилиндре в виде буквы М.
It was never my wish to proceed under this cloud of mistrust either. But like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave because you don't trust the Fatui, there's nothing I can do to stop you.
Да, я вспомнила аниме, которое вот фарс из убийства, что-то там, что-то там.
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Я верю фактам. Если вы невиновны, я помогу снять с вас обвинение. Если вы виновны, правосудие сделает свое дело.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly against you two. If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna need a seriously watertight defense.
Главное доказательство у нас уже есть. Первый заканчивается, пора возвращаться на места. Неужели наша путешественница сама догадалась?
Oh, Paimon thinks she gets what you mean.
Так, получили карточку. Еще одну. Ну, меня, по крайней мере, это радует. Не придется решать головоломку, которая вот постоянно преследовала в Сумеру. Дурацкая. Напряженный процесс продолжается.
Both parties have returned to their positions. Let us continue the trial. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her reconstruction of the events.
That took long enough. Now then, if everyone would lend me their attention. At this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective.
Боже, только я подумала, потому что не будет никакой загадки, головоломки, вот на тебе. Вы можете установить несостоятельные части свидетельства, основываясь на изложении событий другой стороны. Используйте полученные в ходе расследования происшествия доказательства велики, чтобы опровергнуть несостоятельные звенья событий и заменить их новыми. Убедите аудиторию опровержениями, чтобы добиться большей поддержки вашей точки зрения. Когда вы найдете и опровергнете все звенья, выполните цикл опровержений, чтобы раскрыть истину.
As the countdown began, he entered the tunnel.
Окей, Линни входит в
When the
туннель.
flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which caused the loud thud.
Жуть.
He did not
Еще
realize
картинки
that the
такие.
sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why he claimed earlier that he could not hear the sound.
Да, я думаю, что он бы запомнил.
Finally, he used the vase to knock her out before making her change clothes to prevent others from recognizing her. At this time, Cowell arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise, and caught Linney red-handed. So Linney proceeded to knock him out too before stuffing him into that box. Afterward, Linney passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands, before operating the devices such that Cowell's death would be ruled an accident. And there you have it. That's the truth behind what happened.
А какой мотив у него? Вот,
Does the
самое главное-то?
defendant's side have any objections to Lady Farina's description of the events?
The key to refuting Lady Farina is the order of events.
Ого, это был сам голос нашей путешественницы. Итак, Линни входит в тоннель, когда начался обратный отсчет. Боже, выберите доказательства для опровержения. Ага. Не очень правдоподобно. А, тут, блин. Не подходит. Ну-ка, это... Ну, вот это, да, никто не мог... Тоже не подходит? Да. А, так. Ничего из этого не подходит. А у меня нету, получается, ничего, чтобы я могла опровергнуть в этом плане. Ладно. Нападение. Так. А поэтому не слышал глухого звука. А? Ладно. хоть что-нибудь смогу опровергнуть вообще? О.
According to Linny, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel. He couldn't have had that altercation with Halsey.
А, то есть мне нужно просто версию линии рассказать, по сути. Итак. Поиск противоречий. Так. Да.
Linny went to the room that contains the Oratrice's core. This is the actual truth.
Как это может быть фактом, если вы это не можете никак доказать? Так. Согласно имеющимся доказательствам, когда Линни вернулся в тоннель, преступление уже было совершено. Он увидел, ну вот платье он увидел.
Linny did not take part in the underground altercation. He only witnessed traces of the aftermath.
Attention! Ace Detective Paimon has something to say! When the countdown started, Linny did indeed go into the tunnel. But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where the underground core of the Oratrice is stored. Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again, and in order to complete the magic trick, he did not remain there for any length of time. Finally, he reached the surface, and that was when the accident happened from his point of view. Therefore, he's innocent!
Так, у нас получилось. Голос у Паймон.
Paimon did it! Paimon actually managed to say all that!
Да, молодец.
In other words, you believe that he knew nothing of the incident?
That's right!
Более того, в вашем обвинении немного не сходится.
My reasoning?
Реквизит на сцене подменили заранее.
If that's the case, then if Carol hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup meant to kill? Assuming that what you say is true, Linny only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case. What would the point of killing someone on stage be?
Да, мотив — это одна из важных частей. Если мотива нет, то как бы о чем речь?
That's right, you tell him! And that's why they're partners of mine. Oh, well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But what proof do you have to back your claims?
Вы помните, что помогло вам опровергнуть алиби Линни?
Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, how could he have not heard that sound? Why do you ask?
Мне очень интересно, как отреагирует Фурина на проигрыш свой. Будет снова нас преследовать.
You're saying that he wasn't?
Ваше наблюдение стало главной уликой защиты. О, господи. Что нужно было выбрать? Я что-то пропустила. Что является доказательством того, что Линни не было в тоннеле в момент совершения преступления? Фига нам как-то. Не связано, не связано. Вот одно у меня, кстати, не исследовано. А, вентиляционный этот самый. А, не связано? Так, подождите, что мне нужно выбрать-то? Это может быть. Нет, не сходится. Странный звук. Не, ну это как совсем уж какие-то стец. Странно, да.
via the vent.
Логика настолько тупая, прямая, простите, что я не соображу.
The same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best proof. How do you like that?
Well played.
Молодец, Паймон.
To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Linny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
Бэтмен, да. Так. О боже, теперь снова. Боже, опять те логические цепочки. Вы прикалываетесь. Расследование палаты Жардинаш выявило, что веревка, удерживающая резервуар, лопнула от воздействия фейерверков, запущенных в конце иллюзионного представления в результате падения. Так. Как убийца инсценировал. Если исключить, что преступление совершил Линни, подменить реквизит мог только кто-то из членов труппы. Линни подробно объяснил задумку фокуса. Внутри большого ящика был спрятан потайной ящик, куда заходил человек зрительного зала. Ящик со зрителем перемещался к сцене. Да, я думаю, это сама эта девчонка это сделала. Так. На сцене в это время была Линет, переодетая в костюм Линни, ее ассистент. В тоннеле обнаружена одежда, принадлежавшая пропавшей Холзи. Как она там оказалась, неизвестно.
Halsey is the missing person and an ordinary audience member. Or could there have been a third person involved? The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant.
Я думаю, это она была. Чего?
Huh? That can't be right. Are you serious?
Нет. Да нет же.
The killer was, in fact, Cowell, the deceased.
Я вообще девочку хотела выбрать.
Is that so?
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator to victim.
Как мы поняли, как мы можем понять, что Линни не мог участвовать в преступлении?
It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. They would... Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment.
Боже.
The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant.
Да я не это
The
хотела,
deceased's
блин.
name is Cowell,
Как
Linny's...
убрать?
Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel.
О, блин, наконец-то.
The deceased's name is
Да
Cowell,
не он, конечно,
Linny's
главный
assistant.
подозреваемый.
Linny was not in the tunnel.
В общем, какая-то фигня у меня опять получилась.
It would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent. No one entered or left the opera house through its entrance. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between...
Неверное предположение. Как можно понять, что Линни мог участвовать?
Linny was not in the tunnel at that moment. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between... Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. The deceased's name is Cowell. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. So...
Ай.
It would have been tough for both people to fit into the... No one entered or left the opera house through its entrance.
Так, то есть мне получается одно неверное. Ну, хоть здесь
people to fit
подсказывают. Нет, все неверно. Сначала начинаем. Боже. Тут уже просто... Она фонтанирует мыслями. Лин не был в тоннеле ровно 1 минуту. За это время Койл мог вывести Холз из ящика, находившегося в зрительном зале. Жандарм утверждает, что во время представления с театра никто не ходил. Допустим, он вывел ее из ящика. Куда они пошли дальше? Если бы они вышли из ящика в зрительном зале, публика бы их заметила.
Out?
Куда подевалась Холзи?
I see how it is. So this was all just
Потому что
bluff.
это Холзи сама
And here I
устроила, я
thought
просто
you had
ткнула
something to
не
show
туда.
for it. But it's
Look, since we're at a dead end, why not consider a different track? Just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must have been utterly different from the magician's initial.
If only we knew how Halsey disappeared.
Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits, and none of them seem very likely. And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real live person disappear. You know, like you did from that water tank, Lynette.
Фокус, побег из резервуара с водой. Неужели все дело в воде?
Excuse my interruption, dear opponents, but do you not see that the crowd is growing impatient? There is no greater sin in this opera house than an awkward delay in the performance.
Ну, это как несправедливо.
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Подождите.
Lenny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal ample time. The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant.
Куда подевалась
The
Холзи?
vase was not broken by chance. It was
Забавно, я, получается, даже не могла правильно ответить, потому что мне эту вазу не дали. Ага, очень интересно. Смысл вот в этом тогда.
Paimon gets it! It all comes together if Halsey disappeared instead of being kidnapped. Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving only clothes behind. If there's a similar method where a person could be transformed into water...
Oh, just a moment, please. I do hope you know how preposterous you sound at the moment. How could a person ever be transformed into water? This is reality we're talking about here, not some magic trick.
Я предлагаю смотреть личные вещи Коула, там могут оказаться неожиданные находки.
Must we really? I should think that of anyone. Your friend Linny already knows this truth very well. Magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirection. But Halsey's disappearance is very real. We're talking about 2 completely different things.
Even so, I trust the traveler's judgment. The truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reasoning may open if we try to gather all the focal points that don't make sense. Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at his belongings, would it?
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope. The way I see it, your suggestion that we broaden the scope of our investigation is nothing but a tactic for stalling the trial.
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may help us make more progress.
Какие у него сапожки, ботиночки точнее. Прикольно.
Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the personal effects of the deceased, Cowell.
А их что, до этого не осмотрели?
We are still examining the items, but we have already made critical progress that we feel must be shared with everyone post-haste. We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage, each labeled separately. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are... water from the primordial sea.
The primordial sea?
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had an accomplice. The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appears many times.
Жесть какая.
One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. It is empty.
То есть он был злодеем, короче. Ну, теперь
The notes
понятно.
also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine, It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of test subject.
Но все равно я считаю, что это достаточно жестковатый квест, потому что так или иначе с девочкой что-то случилось.
As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact, supported by sufficient evidence.
Мне кажется, эта рыба заменяет орущую чайку.
You've got to be kidding! People dissolving into water?
Could something so ridiculous actually be true?
Wait a moment. This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but it's just a coincidence, isn't it?
Huh. If people can become water, does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? And if Cowl was targeting that girl... Wait just a minute. Could that mean... You two, with me, quick!
Demoiselle, wait! What about your partners?
Let's go. Just trust me.
Order! Order!
Ого.
It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's personal effects has yielded some surprising results. But still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit with the understanding that Ms. Halsey has yet to be found. Guards, please continue examining the items along these lines. Mr. Linney, it appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence, so please continue speaking.
Of course. Thank you, Your Honor. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this case's seemingly unrelated clues can be connected together.
Right! Like the metal hook! That would... Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that water from the primordial sea.
Так, у нас есть эта улика. Еще раз, кто сейчас главный подозреваемый?
The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant.
Он. Какой реквизит использовал убийца, чтобы контролировать время? Время?
Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire... I remember there was something else within the... The water from the primordial sea should already have been prepped. Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant for another magic trick, but was instead... The rope that strung the water tank up was lit by the fireworks and cut.
Ну, либо веревка, либо крюк. Уже
Уже
посложнее. Наверное, не быть мне детективом. Чем убийца растворил? Ну, вот этой штукой. Чтобы спрятать механизм.
The rope that strung the water...
Нет.
Lynette was in the magic box on stage the... I remember there was something else...
В ящике было что-то еще. Что ж там было еще в ящике? Какие-то украшения были?
It's Ace Detective Paimon's time to shine again!
Давай, Паймон, жги.
In the original plan, Cowell would tamper with the water tank rope and the number selector securing his target. When the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it would pour down and dissolve Halsey. Afterward, Cowell would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel, with the remaining evidence being covered up by the water tank on stage. But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel, and wound up being fatally hit by the same water tank he meant to use to cover his tracks.
Huh. That does make sense.
That actually links together a lot of the more confusing pieces of evidence.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now. Have I falsely accused an innocent person? What a humiliation.
Now, it seems like the only point of contention remaining is the exact circumstances that led to Cal's death. His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to the situation.
On that note, the guards have just contacted me indicating that they uncovered new evidence. I shall now invite him on stage to share it with us.
Какая, блин, интрига тут вообще.
Thank you, Your Honor. We were just inspecting the luggage of the other people involved in this case, and we found an identical sample of the water from the primordial sea among Linny's personal effects.
Опа. Да, это довольно-таки интересно, закрутили.
What? That can't be.
Oh, I see. Well, how wonderfully comedic to have your own counterattack only to come back and wound you.
Что Фарина веселится?
Does this not clear all doubt? My dear citizens, my loyal audience, allow me to present my reasoning and bring this performance to a swift close.
Опять.
Linny did not need to take part in the dissolution of the young woman at all. Indeed, he did leave the scene via the vent. Having made modifications to the props beforehand, his accomplice Cowl then caused Halsey to vanish using the water from the primordial sea.
Вообще, платье тогда оказалось не в ящике.
In cruel avarice, Linny desired sole credit and prepared to do away with his partner in crime. Ultimately, he knocked Cowl out, and the tool meant to cover the crime up also became a murder weapon. Now, as much as I regret having come to such a viciously straightforward conclusion, it does seem that the famed Fatui is quite the cold-blooded and ruthless organization.
Вообще
Am
мог
I right,
подумать,
Mr. Linny?
что Линни Фатуй.
We've used up all the evidence we collected. There's no way for us to make a rebuttal here. Is this the end of the road?
Сейчас, наверное, нам поможет вон та девочка, забыла, как ее.
Oh no. I can't think of anything either. It doesn't look like there's any way around this. Seems using the water as new evidence was too good a move. Why did this have to happen now?
I think we've all seen enough now, and we have ample witnesses to my flawless reasoning. I believe this is indeed the finale.
Это, кстати, да, почему вещи только сейчас осмотрели.
Then,
С
my
этого
good,
начинать надо
noble
было.
Chief Justice, should we not, in your view, move...
Excuse me, everyone, but I must interject.
Давай, Нави, жги.
Miss, I must ask you not to shout and to respect the ongoing legal proceedings.
Oh, come on. Don't be hasty. I have a good reason for interrupting, you know. Now, would anyone here like to take a little break from all this debate and see a little magic? I'll show you an amazing trick. One that can bring a young woman who has disappeared back in the flesh, right before your very eyes. Please, do the honors, Mr. Linny.
What in the world is she saying?
No offense, miss, but miracles like that are beyond my scope as a magician.
Come on now, don't be silly. Magic is all about misdirection, isn't it? It often conceals the truth while presenting a fascinating illusion. But once everyone believes the illusion, can't magic reveal the truth to them once again? And wouldn't such a trick be the most marvelous finale to today's performance? Come on, Linny and Lynette. Give it another go. Don't worry. Spina di Rasula has made the necessary arrangements on your behalf. But, as the magic makers and stars of the show, I think I should leave the final performance to you.
I understand.
И что это сейчас будет?
And voila.
Sorry for the interruption.
Wait, isn't that Halsey? So the whole thing about people dissolving wasn't true after all?
To be clear, I'm only here because this person told me that if I testified, the merit of doing so would lessen my sentence. I was hiding outside this room listening to the proceedings because I was afraid that I would be the one put on trial. I was just feeling happy that no one had noticed me. And then before I knew it, she caught me.
That'll teach you to underestimate us three.
Where should I begin? I'm sorry. I'm the one who killed Cowl.
But what? Why?
Firstly, my name isn't Halsey. It's Lillian, and I'm originally from Mondstadt.
Обалдеть, из Манштата.
I heard that Linny's show was gonna be a real thriller, but I missed the chance to buy a ticket, so I stole one. That's how I make a living. I steal stuff here and there. And I'd never been
Я же
caught
говорю,
before.
я тогда сразу узнала, что это воровка. Я ее сразу узнала.
But I was noticed at the harbor a few days ago, and I barely got away. Linny was the one who caught me in the act.
Hey, no wonder you look familiar. So you were the thief. Liddy even mentioned that you were pretty skilled.
Well, and I thought that would have been the end of it, but then the number selector chose me.
И надеюсь, что не засланец Венти.
He even mentioned the Fortress of Meripede. That's a prison, isn't it? So you can imagine how shocked I was. I thought he was onto me for sure. So I played along with the show while looking for an opening to flee. But then I got water poured on me for no reason, and then someone jumped into the tunnel to nab me.
Ай, короче, просто повезло. Ну, точнее, повезло той девушке, вместо которой эта девчонка туда влезла. Вообще офигеть, они закрутили, блин. Кто это придумал?
I wasn't going to take that lying down, so I knocked him out and stuffed him into the box. There was nowhere to run from there, though, so I had to change my clothes and hide in a box containing performance costumes. I slipped out after the first guard arrived at the scene and continued hiding inside the opera house.
Can a person even hide in there?
Ага, опытный человек всегда найдет, где спрятаться.
But I swear, I didn't know that the water tank would fall down. Really, I swear it. Had I known that, I wouldn't have put him in the magic box. I may be a thief, but I'm no killer.
Well, that makes everything pretty clear now, doesn't it?
Да, время проверить предыдущее обвинение Гидроархонта.
This time, we need to tell the entire story from Lillian's
Ну,
perspective.
она же уже все рассказала. Я не знаю, у китайцев какие-то проблемы с юристом, и они решили через игру обучать людей защищать себя в суде. Так. Да не было, да нормально. Все, ну можно потыкать на самом деле, что это. Вообще знаем, что он туда вошел. Что дальше? Кол использует заранее подготовленный реквизит. Так. Да ладно.
The strange sound wasn't from a fight. It was Lillian's attempt to break out when she was frightened.
Да, кстати, проводиться у Лини все забыли. Ха-ха, вот. Так, якобы Лини и Коуэлл сражаются. Да, там был конфликт, но...
The flower vase was not broken to cover anything up, but was smashed during the struggle.
Она вроде как переоделась, да.
Lillian was afraid that she would be recognized if she left, so she changed clothes and hid, biting.
Ой, нет, еще не все.
And it's
Блин,
detective time on time!
там же еще не все.
Having been selected out of the blue, Lillian panicked. Her panic only intensified after she entered the tunnel and had water poured on her head. So she kicked the door open, producing the thud we all heard. Hearing the commotion, Cowl leapt into the tunnel, only to discover that Lillian had not dissolved. He did not know that Lillian was not from Fonteyne, but was a thief who made her way in by stealing a ticket. Mistakenly Fully believing that the water from the primordial sea needed time to take effect, he tried to force Lillian back into the box. The two broke the flower vase during the struggle, but Lillian came out on top, knocking Cowell out and putting him in the box. With no way of escaping, she changed her clothes and hid in the costume trunk until the performance ended.
Отлично, у нас получилось опровергнуть это дело.
She knew that she would have to go through guard inspection if she tried to leave afterward. So, she has been trapped in the Opera House these last 2 days.
She had already become desperately hungry by the time we were chatting over macarons. So, she swiped 2 of them right under our noses. Talk about a sneaky thief.
Теперь мы знаем, кто съел эти 2 пироженки. Совесть Паймон чиста.
Ah, so that's the whole story.
Oh.
Bravo! Bravo!
Now then,
Внезапно.
Lady Farina, do you wish to speak against the defense's statements? Please answer the question, Lady Farina. Also, if I may add, the trial has not yet ended. As such, I request that the prosecution not leave the room before the proceedings have concluded.
Обалдеть, она пыталась свалить. Кажется, Нёвелет просто наслаждается этим моментом. Просто... Как будто только и ждал все эти годы, чтобы на каком-нибудь судебном заседании вот так вот. Чтобы такое случилось.
What? Are you reading my mind now? No, I have no further arguments. I admit defeat. But really, could you at least have left me with some dignity?
Wow, look at that! She's like a deflated balloon now.
If there are no objections, then as the Chief Justice of Fontейне, I shall once again repeat the full sequence of events.
Я думаю, про тот пузырек с водой нам еще, может быть, в конце что-нибудь скажут. Но вообще, в этот момент они упустили, да.
The actual perpetrator of the serial disappearances, Cowell, selected his next victim from the audience reservation list. With some modifications to the selector, he could ensure that the pre-selected young woman would be chosen. To cover up any evidence while committing the deed, Cowell thought of allowing the water tank to fall, which would conceal the water left behind after the young woman was dissolved. He also tampered with the rope suspending the water tank, using the fireworks at the end of the performance to cause the tank to drop and hide the watermarks. He poured the water from the primordial sea into a balloon during the preparation of the magic box and stuck it to the box's lid. Finally, he passed the prepared hook on a rope through the gap in the magic box's door when bringing the young woman to said box.
Вообще тему с крюком не понимаю.
When the magic trick officially began, the box containing the woman was lowered into the tunnel, tightening the hook rope and bursting the balloon containing the water. If all had gone to plan, the young woman would be dissolved at this time. However, Lillian was not from Fontейне and thus fled the box with a loud noise. Realizing that there was trouble, Cowell entered the tunnel and met Lillian. Thinking that the waters had not yet taken effect, he decided to proceed. However, his opponent was more capable than he thought, and he was overcome, knocked unconscious, and placed into the magic box, and thus became his own final victim. Lillian, according to her own statements, then changed clothes and hid until the performance ended, before hiding in other parts of the opera house. As for Linny, he was in the underground structures within the opera house, and was thus ignorant of these happenings. From this reconstruction of events, we can conclude that Linny, the accused, is in fact innocent. While there is much in Linny and Lillian's conduct that should still be investigated separately, this case, at least, can be handed over to the Oratrice to make the final decision.
Нифига там машина у них.
As such, Linny and Lynette are officially declared not guilty.
Молодец.
Great work, partners.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Нави зарешала, я считаю. Не торопитесь праздновать.
Next, I think we deserve an explanation, Guard Vaughn. How did you find the water from the primordial sea in Linny's baggage?
Right! Your discovery caused me to make a serious mistake, you know. Or was that not a discovery, but false evidence that you dared to bring before this court?
Вот мы и вернулись к воде.
I suspect that the accomplice mentioned in Cowell's notes was not Linny, but you, yes?
Опачки.
I'm sure you know what you must do to lessen your sentence.
Speak quickly! Unless you want to earn yourself a one-way ticket to Coupon Town.
Ого, сурово.
I was just following orders. We were supposed to place blame for the serial disappearances onto Linny, and thus cause suspicion to fall on the Fatui. The higher-ups said this was the best opportunity to do so.
And now that your plan has fallen through, and the secrets of the water have been revealed, you have become a liability to said higher-ups, yes? Therefore, you would be wise to tell everything you know, and seek the protection of the guards.
Yes, I'll tell you everything I know. Our boss discovered that the water can cause people to dissolve.
А кто твой босс, чувак?
It can also be made into a potion, which when extremely diluted, can cause people to experience unforgettable exhilaration.
Фига себе, душевный подъем.
We've been in this business for a while now, and have made decent mora off it. The disappearances were also the boss's idea. I mean, this is the boss we're talking...
Жесть. Он превратился в воду. Как же это произошло, простите?
And now he can no longer talk.
Such ruthlessness. I shouldn't have expected any less of them.
An outrageous act. All present, please submit to inspection immediately.
Опять досмотр. Жесть. Что-то вообще как-то прям... интересно, конечно, расследование, но, по-моему, перегиб какой-то.
So, we're just going back now?
Кошмары могут сниться. Пока проблема решена, мы здесь больше не нужны.
Traveler, Paimon, please wait.
Linny.
I know you may not want to speak to me right now. Maybe you don't even want to look at me.
Да ладно, стартали, это нормально общаются.
Still, let me thank you again for defending me to the end, even after you learned that I'm a member of the Fatui.
Не люблю, когда людей обвиняют в том, чего они не совершали.
I guess. But regardless, I'd like the opportunity to set things straight. I didn't approach you with any ulterior motives or ill intent. I've spoken to you as myself, just plain Linny this entire time. As for why I'm a Fatus, it's because the goals of the House of the Hearth align with those of an orphan like me. That was how Father, who you might know as the Knave, approached recruiting us back then too.
The Knave? The one who controls the House of the Hearth? She's your father?
That's right. And since we're here, I was wondering, would you mind hearing a story? It's about back when our parents first died. Lynette and I were left wandering the streets. To survive, I took to surreptitiously observing an older street performer who did magic. It took me several days to figure out how he pulled off his amazing tricks. I took my sister through several streets until we found a crowded corner, and we began to perform magic tricks there. To my surprise, we proved to be pretty popular, and we could at least stop worrying about where our next meal would come from for a time. But I didn't want my sister to remain a street rat together with me forever. Before long, an aristocrat came to me and claimed that he wished to take us in after watching my performances.
So you went from orphans to nobility just like that?
That was how we felt at first, too. As if fate was on our side and we could say goodbye to those painful days. But I gradually discovered that while we were called foster children, he was really after my talent for magic tricks. He would constantly take me to all sorts of banquets to garner attention, which he would then use to expand his social circles.
That doesn't seem too bad either. Better than roaming the streets at any rate.
It took a while for me to realize just how dark his heart really was. After one particular performance at a banquet, I discovered that Lynette was not on the same return vehicle as me.
Так.
I waited a long time after we returned home, but she did not
Так,
come.
подождите, это же
I went to
перебор.
that noble's bedroom and asked him about her whereabouts.
Вы
The
чё?
answer he gave me was, she caught the eye of the most eminent person at the banquet, so I sent her over as a gift.
Господи, боже
I
мой.
mean, you'll be able to perform your magic regardless of who your assistant is, yes?
Они там что, чокнулись такое, что ли, делать?
Oh no. So he was gonna...
Это, блин, это что вообще такое? Не офигели? Михаё, вы чё?
But wouldn't Fontaine's laws deal with such people?
As far as outsiders are concerned, this is a relationship akin to adoption or foster care. They have their
Это,
ways of
ну,
escaping the eye of the
это
law.
что-то вообще просто... Слов
I
нет.
managed to ferret out the location of the mansion of that so-called eminent person and hurried through the night. But by the time I leaped over the walls, avoided the guards, and made my way in...
А у меня, кстати, ни у кого нет вопросов, почему его сестра с хвостиком, а он без хвостика?
All I saw was the moonlit ground covered in blood, and the knave standing there in the darkness.
So, she'd already taken care of that guy.
That's right. She had rescued my sister before she could come to any harm, and had even discovered several girls hidden in a basement, all of them orphans.
А ушки тоже сценические, что ли?
Father, I mean, the knave, might have seen something in me, and so she made me an offer.
Если они такие двойники друг друга, у него что же должно быть?
The House of the Hearth welcomes you, for your interests align with ours. Here, none will ever betray you. Indeed, betrayal shall never be permitted here. I was hesitant to trust her. I mean, I had just been betrayed by nobles. But she was also quick to destroy the noble who had taken us in at first, giving us back our freedom.
Oh, so that's how the two of you joined the House of the Hearth.
Но сейчас цель слуги сердца Бога.
She has her own plans. She has gained permission from the Tsaritsa to first use the Gnosis' power when she obtains it. She plans to use it to find a way to break the prophecy and save Fонтейн.
Ну все, теперь у нас царица будет, оказывается, добренькой. И фаты вообще не злые. Вот это переобулись они вообще. Я просто, не знаю, чаечка здесь кричащая должна быть.
So, she believes in that prophecy too?
That's right. The whole House of the Hearth is currently working to combat that crisis.
Какое дело Фатуям и Снежной до Урины и Фонтейна?
Today's case has also proven that people from Fонтейн can indeed dissolve into some sort of water, thus further supporting the prophecy. All of us house members here, Lady Arlecchino herself included, are from Fonтейн. We won't give up on defending our homeland.
Ну хотя бы здесь объяснили, что все члены дома очага, включая леди Арлекино, происходят из Фонтейна.
To us orphans, the only connection we have left to this world, apart from our family,
Но все равно,
is
честно,
our
как-то
homeland.
это все так очень натянуто.
So, from small deeds like distributing magic pockets to huge schemes like stealing a gnosis, everything is aimed at dealing with that prophecy.
It's all right. I understand.
Ну,
The only thing I can do is relate all this to you.
с другой стороны-то можно понять, почему он это скрывал.
I just hope you can understand that even as a member of the house, I have never stopped making my own decisions, and that I believe what I'm doing is right. If you should need anything at all in the future, feel free to find me. I will do...
Хорошо. товарищ.
Bye, Linny.
Дали какую-то ачивочку дали. Если я хочу кое-что посмотреть. Вот. У него нет ушек. У него нет ушек, и хвостика у него тоже нет. Обман. Опять обман от Михуё. Давайте сейчас еще полчаса диалогов.
Hey there. What was with the disappearing act you pulled right as the trial ended?
Were you looking for us, Navia?
Well, this whole thing isn't exactly over, is it? I do feel that we're getting closer to solving the serial disappearances case, though. Huh? What's wrong, my dear partner?
Навия мне нравится, она самая миленькая. Ай, просто хотела оправдать Линни. Да, давайте ей поможем, наверное, не знаю.
Besides, are you sure we're the ones who can crack a case that's been cold for decades now? And given that there's new evidence from the trial, there should be a trail of breadcrumbs for the
Это мы
Hydro
сейчас...
to follow now.
Это мы сейчас кинем Навию. Единственное, которое мне в этой тусовке нравится. Как нечестно. Как гадко.
I see. Well, I won't lie. I'm a little shocked to hear that from you. But I suppose you are just travelers who have only arrived in Fontейне, after all.
Невелит, что ли? Да, не знаю, но ходит такой, не знаю, пока еще не поняла, нравится или не нравится.
Sorry.
Вроде ничего
I
так.
might have been too presumptuous.
Ну вот Навия точно миленькая, и компашка у нее прикольная. Эти и команда. И как-то обидно, блин, что ее кинули так. Ну что это такое? Вообще просто сплошное разочарование.
Don't say that, Navia.
Ah, and we were having so much fun investigating with you, too. It was like having new waters flowing into a stagnant mire, causing new hope to spring forth, and the reflection in the murk to become clearer. Well, sorry about that. I'm a bit prone to nostalgia. Don't mind me. Wait, shall we have a farewell meal? You know, to commemorate our time as partners?
Huh? Do we really need to get that formal? Well, guess you really did treat us as partners, huh?
Well, I'd just like to have a proper ending to every important memory. That way there are no regrets later.
Молодец.
Anyway, it would just be a meal, so it shouldn't take up too much of your time.
Хорошо.
You don't have to twist Paimon's arm. If Boss Navia's treating, count Paimon in.
Oh, wonderful. In that case, why don't we return to the court of Fontейне and head to the Hotel de Boer?
All right, then. Let's have our farewell meal.
Ну, как всегда. А не выполнено. Тарам. Бросьте фонтан. Чего там бросить фонтан? Что-то надо бросить фонтан. Вот, нет, это забрать. О. Фонтан. Бросайте печати гидра, полученную в ходе различных приключений в Фонтейне Фонтан Люсин, чтобы повысить его уровень и получить ценные предметы взамен. У меня только одна печать. Что тут за награды у нас? Ну, понятно, только до 5 уровня показывает. Вот так. У нас подкрывалась куча разных квестов. Что-то нам тут сейчас отсыпят даже. Задание архонтов. Будет продолжение, 2-я часть. И, кстати, у нас тут появилось еще одно событие. И это почти закончилось. Да. Ну что ж, на сегодня я предлагаю нам, простите, закончить наш стрим. Наконец-то мы дошли этот квест. за 3 попытки справились, осилили. Спасибо за внимание, хорошего всем